Welcome everyone on la chaîne Geopolitics. So today we will talk about the last development on the oil market. So let's recap a bit what happens over the last weeks. So on 9th of March, occurred this historic fall of oil prices of from around 30%. So they reached $26 on that day due to the decision of the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud to raise production and to cut prices below the benchmark. So after this decision, the price dropped significantly, and so since then, due to the economic damage that it creates, an agreement is trying to be found between various partners. So just you are maybe raising the question why I'm talking about oil market, how it is connected with geopolitical. You have to keep in mind that oil is much more than a commodity. It's actually it's a geopolitical tool, especially for countries, I would say, with very geopolitical strategy like Russia and Saudi Arabia. And when they take such decision to raise or to drop production, it's not only for let's say for their own or benefit, but also they use it as a tool, a geopolitical tool. In this case, the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and President Putin also use this tool, this commodity, which is oil, to use it directly against the US, because they understood that in this time of very low demand, where the demand is around dropping significantly 20%. So it means that currently, usually we are producing around 100 million barrels per day. So a drop from 30%, it means that in absolute terms, it means that 20 million barrels per day are not sold, and that's why it is needed to cut prices in order to sell your barrel. And using this strategy of low prices, it means that you endanger your competitors. And the main competitor for Saudi and Russian in the oil markets are the shale gas from US, and also we forget sometimes from Canada, which has the third largest oil reserves in the world. So it's important to keep in mind that Russia and Saudi Arabia would like to lead to bankruptcies those American and Canadian oil firms, and they think right now that they can use this window opportunity with very, very low demand, historical low demand, to bring to bankruptcies those firms. And facing a potential economic downturn, not to say economic recession or depression, we could say, President Trump has decided to enter into talks with his counterpart. First with his Russian counterpart, where he called this week, had a conversation, and then with the Saudi Crown Prince. And after those conversations, he reached a common agreement with them to cut production. But let's say the loophole, the weak point of this agreement could be that the fact that the US producers are not involved in those production cut, and so this production cut will only rely on Saudi Arabia, which would have to cut its production from 8 million. So that's why it's very hardly realistic to think that this agreement will be carried out, will be implemented, despite that the market traders, I would say, bought this news. So it meaning that the oil price rose significantly over the last 2 days, because it passed from Wednesday, 1st of April, from $25.06 to $32 today on 3rd of April, believing that some cut will occur. They just think that it's very that they really think that those actors like Saudi Arabia and Russia are enough, let's say, realistic to try to find a solution to raise the price. But I think they didn't take into account also the geopolitical aspects, those traders. And I think actually the geopolitical aspect would mean that President Putin and Mohammed bin Salman would like to also to undermine, if I like, the economic power of US and Canada. And they really think that they could undermine it during this economic, let's say, during this period of very low demand. And I think that's the political strategy of both actors. And that's why, despite that, there will be a meeting between OPEC and non-OPEC countries, which will be also unprecedented, even though the OPEC plus exists between OPEC plus Russia, but never a meeting has been occurred between OPEC plus United States, Canada, Azerbaijan, and Russia. But despite such a news which brought some optimism about some production cut, I think at the end production cut will be very limited. If it happens, will be very limited, will not be 8 to 15 millions. President Trump talked about 15 millions, which would, in this case, offset this very deep demand drop. But I think it's such a big figure. It would be an unprecedented production cut that I think it's totally unrealistic. And once again, the geopolitical aspect has not been, let's say, integrated by traders. The geopolitical strategy of Russia and Saudi Arabia has not been integrated, and it's probably unrealistic to talk about production cut. Just to give you an idea about the current situation on oil market, on Wednesday, Saudi Arabia loaded 18.8 million barrels on 15 tankers, which is also unprecedented. You see, many things are really right now unprecedented. We live really in, we are moving really in uncharted territory, and many things happen, and it will have, you will see over the next days, a lot of geopolitical outcome, and that's why we will continue following up what happens on the oil market over the next days.